Greetings, this is Judy, and we're going to be learning about Storia on INFOhio. You can follow along on the INFOhio webpage, INFOhio.org. Just a little background about INFOhio. It's Ohio's pre-K to 12th grade digital library. All the resources are free to students, teachers, parents, and caregivers in Ohio. INFOhio online resources work on computers, laptops, Chromebooks, tablets, and smartphones, although Storia is not recommended to be used on smartphones and phablets. Internet access is required for all the resources, although there are many downloadable files that can be accessed offline. Login is required for Storia with a username and password for students who are registered for Storia through their teachers in grades 4 and 5. It is the only resource from INFOhio that does require a login. The teachers will provide these 4th and 5th grade students with the login information. I'm going to go through a short slideshow, and then we're going to dive right into the Storia online live. The one difference between Storia and many of the other resources from INFOhio is that the teachers can track how much time a student is reading on a specific book. They can also judge comprehension by an assessment at the end of each ebook. And with funding from the Ohio Department of Education, INFOhio was able to work with Scholastic to license a subset of Storia School Edition ebooks that are for grades 4 and 5. There are 300 books included in the collection, hand-selected to support Ohio's learning standards, and the students in 4th and or 5th grade can access all these books. So the 5th grade can access the 4th grade collection, and the same as well as their own 5th grade, and the same thing with the 4th grade. They can access the 5th grade books as well as their own 4th grade. Getting access to Storia by teachers is pretty simple. The teacher needs to go to the K to 5 access, the resource page, and there is a little eye up in the corner of the box that one would click on to get into Storia. So the teacher would click on that eye, and they would be led to this page where it says request a teacher access code. And all they have to give is their school email address twice, and they will be sent an email with this access code. Now, an access code can be used to create up to 9 classes, but if a teacher had more than 9 classes, there would need to be another access code given. So that access code comes to you by an email. And once you get your access code, every teacher needs to have a Scholastic educational account. You cannot share those accounts, and it'll ask for your access code to activate the Storia on there. Mine is under the Wood County Educational Service Center because our agency, NWOET, has Wood County ESCs. They are our fiscal agent. So that explains why Wood County ESC. We're not really a school, we're an ed tech agency, but I was allowed to get an account through Wood County ESC's agency. And this just shows the page where you would set up your students. You can set up, like I said, up to 9 classes per 4th or 5th grade teacher. And then you can put students into each class. And you can assign books 3 different ways. You can have the entire class assign the same book. You can make groups within your classroom and assign books to groups, or you can assign books to individual students. And I want to point out that students can also add books to their library independently of the teachers assigning a book. And this is a message box. When you assign a book to a student, a group, or entire class, you can send them a little message, and this says, please read this book over the summer. Send me an email and let me know 2 or more things you found interesting about Miss Earhart. It's a book, Amelia Earhart, Adventure in the Sky. This is a student view, and we'll also go into a fake student that I put in named Mickey Mouse, and we'll see the books that Mickey chose and his teacher chose for him. This shows what it looks like when a student goes to read a book. They have the various, they can highlight, they can add sticky notes, they can make it full screen, they can actually go through and go to the different chapters independent of this scroll bar here, and you can see all the different chapters listed by little dots at the bottom. This shows one of the pages of that book, the Amelia Earhart book. And this shows a little way when they highlight and then a sticky note. When you click on it, a box comes up, a note box, and the student can type something that's important that they might want to remember for later, or that the teacher has asked them to find in a book. This shows that at the end of the book, there'll be a little check mark, and it says, how carefully did you read the ebook? Take this quiz to find out. And they're called reading challenges. And they are multiple choice questions, and the teacher will get a grade for whatever the student got. How many of the questions did they get correct? And these are the kind of reports a teacher can get: class reports, student reports, and then reports on the actual ebooks. And you can see like how many pages were read, how many minutes did they spend reading those. So if a student just clicks right through really quickly through, or even reads one page and goes and says they've read the book and they want to take the test, the teacher can see that the student did not really actually read the book. The individual student report looks like this. And you can see probably that, it says, I didn't complete any of the book, or Mickey Mouse didn't complete any of the books. He opened 3 and he spent 8 minutes and read a total of 20 pages. But it also talks about the words, the reading challenges, the session history, and the reading history. All information might be helpful to a teacher. We'll come back to this screen at the end. Right now, we're going to dive into the INFOhio Storia. And Storia does come with other grades besides 4th and 5th. It was decided by the INFOhio staff to use the 4th and 5th grade collection because we have Bookflix, which is also a Storia product. And at some point, if funding increases, it's hoped that they may be able to add the higher grades. Probably 6 would be the obvious one to add next. Okay, here's the Storia button. I got there by clicking on, I didn't describe it, let's go back, and we have, click on the grade K to 5 and scroll down in the K to 5 resources to Storia. They're in alphabetical order, all the resources. And you see this login. Well, before you do that, if you don't have an account with Storia, as I already do, you would go in and request a teacher access code. And as I showed in the previous slide, that's all you have to give, no big explanation. And then every teacher needs to have a Scholastic account. Now, you may already have a Scholastic account from previous things that you've used with Scholastic. It's a free account, but everybody needs that, and then they will add Storia to their Scholastic account with that teacher access code. There's a lot of resources in this little page here that I got. I accessed from the let me go back. Don't forget that little I right there. That's really important on the Storia use. Besides getting an account, there are FAQs that are very good, and these are created by the INFOhio staff here in Ohio. Besides those FAQs and the way to get your account, here's ways you can use Storia in your classrooms, shared by other teachers here in Ohio. And I want to point out this Storia class. If you need hours, professional development hours to use for your licensure renewal, great place to get 2 free hours, spend a little time. It takes, I said 2 hours, it's actually 3 hours. After you go through these different video activities, then you will hit the self-assessment, take the little assessment, and then you will get a certificate for 3 hours, and you'll know a lot more about Storia than even watching this short video here today. So definitely want to point that out. And again, it's down below. You can go to the professional development link, but on this page I got from the little I, it's down here. It's the INFOhio Learning Pathways Storia class. There's also a fact sheet about Storia. There's a parent letter. There's reward certificates that teachers can download and print for their students, how it's linked to the Ohio standards. And right here, there is a title list, and this is a much requested, this is one place to go to download that list of all those titles, that 350 plus, because they do add titles from time to time. And that listing gives you the Lexile. It gives you the guided reading level, which is a program from Scholastic. Of course, alphabetically listed, the higher in the alphabet, the more difficult the reading is for each particular book. And it tells what grade level it's meant. But again, 4th and 5th grade can access the entire collection. So that's one place to go, and we are going to go back to our Storia application, and I'm an educator. If a student comes in here, they would click on student login, and you cannot be logged in both on the same browser. So I did a little trick, and I have already logged in ahead of time. You can see my last name, Tucker, up there. There are 2 things to use. The student access allows you to give access, find the student's username and password that is actually the passwords created by Scholastic, but they come up with some pretty easy to understand passwords, or ones that students can remember. The one for this particular Mickey Mouse I'm going to show you as a student is ball 56 plant. And we're just going to go right into the teacher view. And you can see they are organized in collections if you want to go that route and perhaps give a collection to a student. And they actually, you can share these. Right here is how you would share it with students, and you can make your own collection as well. You can make collections for different groups of students. They really will not know. They just know they have different books in their collection, and you might do it by a grade level or interest. Just a comment. This particular resource can be used just like any other INFOhio resource out of school, away from home, on vacation, wherever you can get internet access, the students can use this. And so also we want to look back at the classes. I had created 3 different classes, 2 4th grade and 5 1 5th grade, and you can see I don't have very many students, but if I were looking in the demo class, you would see that Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Dewey and Donald are all students in there, and 2 of them, Minnie and Dewey, have never signed in. Isn't that interesting? Here we are back to the home page. If you want to look in at all of the books from your teacher view, you can see here that they do say the Lexile level, and you can sort them by title, author, or the level, and you can create a collection. This is where you would go in to create different collections for different groups or different interests, so forth. Okay, that Amelia Earhart book was the one I was featuring today. So let's just click on that to take a look, and you get a little bit of a summary here. You get how it's organized, and you actually can sample how to read it, and you can assign it, add it to a collection, and you can view the usage report. Maybe you didn't assign this, but 5 students have added it to their library. This is the same way a student would see the book, and I gave you a quick look at that, but so you can advance it 2 different ways. You can click the buttons at the bottom. I think the easiest way for me is to use the little arrows to go forward and backward, page by page. Now, some people say, wow, that's kind of small on my mini iPad. You can actually make it full screen and get it a little bit larger. Obviously, the larger the screen on a device, the larger the letters can be. And if you wanted to have it read aloud, just make sure that you have your read aloud feature on. And so back in the beginning, you also can turn that off if you wish. So for students, that is an option both ways. So let's go back to, now you say, how do I get out of a book? For one thing, get out of full screen mode by escape, of course. And then whenever you want to go back, use your tab at the top or wherever you have your tabs located, and you can go back to the book. And remember, we're in teacher view, so it's a little bit different. The students have an X that they can click to close the book, and it will stay on the page that they were last reading so that they don't have to figure out where they were and duplicate any of their reading they've already done. So this is the teacher view. Okay, let's go back now to all these. There's a nice group of teaching tips there at the top. We won't go into those right now. And you can search for titles of books or ones that are specific Lexile range, fiction or nonfiction, and the subject and format, because some of them are, they're all categorized by realistic fiction, romance, adventure, and some are in multiple categories, obviously. Now let's take a look of how the student would go in to their Storia. Again, start with INFOhio.org, and they would click on the grades K to 5 and scroll down to the Storia link here and just click. And instead of educator login, they would go to the student login, and their teacher would have supplied them with their username and password. Now, it can also be linked to their Google Classroom or a Clever account if a school is using either one of those services. I'm going to log in to my Mickey Mouse account. And if I typed it right, we'll see Mickey has his bookshelf right there. And as a teacher, I have not restricted Mickey from choosing his own books. And so you can see he has chosen quite a few books of his own, and I've only assigned one book as a class. And the little red bookmark shows that Mickey has actually gone in and started reading different pages of these books listed there. And one of the books that Mickey chose was this fish book, World's Weirdest Animals. And it has some special features. The little lightning bolt means there are some activities on different pages, and this one has quite a few activities on different pages. And then the little camera means that there is a video somewhere within the book, or more than one. In this one, I believe there's only one video. And if you see the little speaker bubble right here, that means that that is one of those books that the student can choose to have it read aloud, text to speech. And a teacher can turn off that feature. The teacher can also turn off the feature to allow the students to choose their own books, which I can't agree with that. I think if the student wants to go ahead and read more books than are assigned by the teacher, that's just great. The student can actually browse the different collections, or they can search for ebooks. Say they want a book on cars. The student can click in the word cars, and then it will bring up all the books that have relate to cars. They can start reading it immediately, or they can just add it to their bookshelf by clicking here. Again, this would not be available if the teacher in their options have turned off the ability for students to choose their own books. Let's go back and let's go into that book that Mickey chose, and we'll take a look at what these books look like. Again, there's the features that they can highlight text. So I'm going to go into the first pages. There's many different ways you can advance the pages. You can click the little buttons here at the bottom to advance, or you can go page by page by clicking the arrows. Of course, there's a back arrow and a forward arrow. And this shows all the different fish that are covered in this book. And you can see there's a lot of photos in this book to interest the student. And again, if the student wants it read to them, they can click here. Again, that wouldn't be an option for any books that don't have that feature. You also can advance the pages at the top. And another feature is the contents, where the student can go to any one of these books. If it's a chapter book, it would actually say a chapter 1 or chapter 2. And since this has so many different fish, you have to scroll down. But at the bottom of every book is a direct link to the reading challenge. So if the student wanted to go in at any point and take that reading challenge, they could, and they can take it as many times as they wish over again. And then if the student has done any highlighting, it would show here. Of course, no highlighting has been done by Mickey so far. So, and this is what the quiz looks like from the student view.
Frogfish and batfish have modified fins. These fins allow them to. A picture shows a jawfish.
Okay, we won't go through the whole quiz, but there's anywhere between 5 and 10 questions for each one of the books for the students to take. Again, if the student doesn't score well, they do ask the student if they want to read the book more carefully and come back and take it again. The highlighting is shown, so a student can highlight in various colors. Yellow, blue, green, and pink. And then they also can make sticky notes if they wish to highlight something and then just do a sticky note. And they can help to, okay. They save it, and then that sticky note feature would be there, or the teacher can, or the student can go to the sticky notes here, and it shows on what page the sticky note was done and the highlighting. Of course, there was my highlighting, and there is my sticky note. So, and the student could print that if they really wanted to print it out. So we'll close that. In the past, there was an X to get out of a book and go back to the other books. And we got a little kitty trying to come in here. Since that X is no longer there, the student would just click the tab at the top and it closes that book, but it goes right back to the page if the student enters the book. Here's that kitty again trying to join the conference here. So we'll just see if we can advance with her here. So going back again, it will come back to the page the student went on. They don't have to set a bookmark or anything like that. It's just automatically back to that book. Now this book is the one the teacher assigned, and when the teacher assigns it, they can tell the student it needs to be read by a certain date or whatever. That wasn't the case on this book, but again, advance the pages like this. And this reading is smaller because there's more text. But on my screen, full text doesn't make it that much, or full screen doesn't make it that much bigger. And the student can just click that or click escape to get out of the full screen. Again, the contents, there aren't as many chapters in this book, but the notes I've already made, or Mickey already made, are such as this. That pretty well explains the student view. Again, they can browse the different collections. So if they want to do books that are reality ones, they will show. And it gives the Lexile level. So if the teacher has instructed the student to choose in a certain Lexile range, they can certainly see that the book's Lexile range is listed there. So, and if we go back to this and search for fish, you can see those three. There aren't a lot of the activity features, but just want to show you a couple of them. They are pretty cool. And so if we go back to, let's put Kitty back over there. If we go back to our library and click on the fish book, I'll advance it to some pages where there are some activities. And it will have the little, let's move that, it will have in the top right corner, there we are. Okay, so let's go to this particular activity. And this one, you have to pop the two bubbles that do not connect to the frogfish. And the frogfish information was shown in the screen before this particular 2 pages. So we're just going to notice though that it says do not connect to the frogfish. So I'm going to, I know they're slow swimmers, so that's correct, but let me.
No, you'll find frogfish along shallow sea floors.
Tells you to pop bubbles that do not connect to the frogfish. Other activities might be those that would help the student prepare for online tests like dragging and dropping. This one is that example. So some ocean fish are poisonous, other or venomous. Some are harmless. Sort the fish into the correct clouds, fish that are deadly and fish that are harmless. So let's put,
Pufferfish,
oh, I'm right, okay, jawfish.
jawfish,
Okay, you can see that there are sounds with some of the activities like that. And then if once the student closes it, they come back, it starts all over again. So students might have some fun with that. It also lets them practice their skills of dragging and dropping. This one, flip each card for more wild details. So this is more like just informational type thing. And then I have to flip.
frogfish. Did you know that a frogfish can fish?
Okay, we'll stop it there. And then there's one little thing with a video that has a video within it. And so just a second, my kitty wants to leave the room. So I'll just give her a chance here. So that gives you a chance to see some of the books that have those special features. A teacher, when she assigns them, can also see the features, whatever view you have, you can see the different features, and like not all the books have the read aloud feature. That pretty much covers the student view. If a student goes up here to this, it just talks about their school and the Scholastic Digital Manager. It really comes back to it just gives them back to where they originally came. They can launch it and it goes right back to that. So that is a student view, and now we will return to one of the slides and just close out this video. Let's see if there's anything I need to cover yet. I think that would be all. If you have any questions about Storia or any of the other INFOhio resources or wish trainings for your school, contact NWOET at NWOET.org. And please, teachers, 4th and 5th grade teachers, sign up your class for Storia, even if you're going to be using it as a supplementary resource to your other reading curriculum. Thank you. Bye from Judy.